Howdy folks, how are y'all doing? My name is Rees, and welcome back to the Tekkit SMP Let's Play Adventure, where today we are going to be delving deep into the world of magic, specifically magic that can be found in the ProjectE mod. And it all starts with the Philosopher Stone, which enables us to do a lot of really cool things, some of which we're not going to touch on. We're going to talk about quite a bit of it, though. It's going to enable us to build the Transmutation Table, which I think is the most important object in the entire mod pack, and I can't wait to show it to you. We're going to be building an Energy Condenser and talking about why people preferred this over the table in Tekkit Classic, but why since then the table is better unless you're doing automation. It's something that we have a little bit of an argument about in every video, because people just don't know that the Tekkit Classic days are over, my friends. Things are different these days. We're going to be building an alchemical bag, which is going to be very helpful when we move houses, because it has the storage space of an alchemical chest. You can carry it around in your inventory. We're packing all kinds of things in there and heading out of here. We're going to be building a destruction catalyst, which is going to make mining a whole lot easier and faster, and then also a Klein Star to store all of the energy we need, because we might actually be making something else. Something that requires stored energy. Well, I mean, the destruction catalyst requires stored energy, but I want to make Swiftwolf's Rending Gale so that we can fly around with basically what is creative flight, which is going to be super, super useful. It also can be used defensively to shoot lightning and things, which is pretty cool. But that's going to help me build our new mountaintop base in the upcoming episodes. But in order to do all of that, we need to start off at the beginning. Now, I do want to say that I did another half episode with channel members and Patreon supporters, where we just went and we did a lot of mining. Just a lot of mining, because I wanted to have a lot of available EMC. So I mined up a bunch of different ores and everything, and got them set up over here in the macerator so I can get them into a condensable state. We also did find some diamonds. I went underground with the intention of getting 68 of them. We didn't get that many, but I think we've got enough here to work with. I think we're going to be okay. And I made a bunch of fragmented carbon by accident. I did not mean to do that, but such is life. Let's focus on what's important now. The Philosopher's Stone. I could tell you what it does, but honestly, the amount of time it would take for me to explain all of its uses would be well in excess of the amount of time necessary to just build the darn thing. So we need 4 glowstone, 4 redstone, and a single diamond. And then you configure them in this orientation. I just looked at the picture. I was going to say if I got it wrong, although it might be shapeless. Or not necessarily shapeless, but yeah, I was going to say optional recipes there. You could do it with the redstone on the corners or the glowstone on the corners. I do think it needs to be in that pattern, though. Yes, it does. So Philosopher's Stone. Right-click it. And first off, the most neat thing you can do with it is press C to use it as a mobile crafting station. That's not the most neat thing you can do with it, but it is a cool thing you could do. Something else you can do with it is you can use it to transform objects in the real world. So, for example, if you have grass and you want it to be sand, you just right-click on it. And if you have sand and you want it to be grass, right-click on it. If you hold down Shift, you can get cobblestone, and then back to grass, or go to cobblestone, and then again to get stone. And then Shift, and get grass. This can also be used to transform different wood types. So right now, we have oak wood, but we could also get dark oak wood, or acacia, or jungle, or birch, or spruce, or all the way back to oak, and it also works on the leaves themselves. If you press V, you can increase its radius, and every time you press V, the radius gets bigger and bigger, to the point that I could transform a bunch of the leaves on this tree. I could have the entire tree be birch leaves with oak wood. Okay, or we could right-click on the oak wood and turn that into a jungle wood with birch leaves. Why not? We could do all kinds of different combinations. Well, that's just the jungle tree is what we've done there. There we go. So as you can see, there's a lot of fun different things you can do with this device. And to uncharge it, hold down Shift and tap V, and that'll power it back down. But if we have a look at our uses here by hovering it over and hitting U, you'll notice that there are 2,968 pages of uses, and I want to go ahead and spoil this out the gate. Because it can be used as a crafting table, everything that can be crafted in the game shows up here. So that's not super useful. However, a couple of things here you'll note immediately is that it can be used to build the Transmutation Table, which is what we're going to do next. It can also be used to create an interdiction torch, which is really cool. It repels mobs that get close to it, I think within a 9-block radius. So you could put one of these down, and if mobs come at you in the darkness, they won't be able to get close to you. And if they shoot arrows at you, they'll actually get shot away from you. Super cool and very helpful. It can be used to create better fuels. So an alchemical coal is not just 4 times the value of regular coal, it's actually 4 times the burn time as regular coal. And then you could upgrade that to Aeternalis fuel. Well, okay, first you have to make Mobius fuel, which requires the alchemical coal, but you get what I'm saying there, and we're not done looking at the uses just yet. You can also take regular objects, like iron, and convert them into ender pearls, or an emerald into diamonds, gold into diamonds, which is cool, alchemical coal back into regular coal, and then moving forward from here, you can go diamonds to emeralds, and then you kind of get to a point where you're just looking at recipes from this point onward. Or you can go over here and you can view all of your different world transmutation options. So we already looked at stone into cobblestone and grass and all of that, but you can also turn lava into obsidian, and, more importantly, convert obsidian back into lava, which is very helpful. If you have ice, you can make it into water. If you have a melon but you need a pumpkin, you can do that, and vice versa. You can turn oak wood into various different specimens of wood. You got leaves that you can do. You can do saplings in the raw. You can get different types of wool, different types of terracotta. There's a ton of different world transmutations you can do. And it's very handy to have this if you find that you have, like, let's say black wool and you need red wool, but you don't have any red dye. No problems. You're set to go. Got a bunch of granite? Turn that into diorite. This is great. This is cool. This is useful. However, there are better ways of achieving some of these things in your inventory using the Transmutation Table. I'm going to go ahead and build the Transmutation Table, and then we'll discuss how it works. But what you need is some obsidian, and we did go mine in the last half episode, some extra obsidian, and you do need stone, not cobblestone. Important to note. This one might be a little bit more selective about the orientations. You might have to have the proper items in the corners. You do. So make sure you put your 4 obsidian on the corners and your 4 stone, not cobblestone, but 4 stone on the sides with your Philosopher Stone in the middle. And don't worry, this will not consume your Philosopher Stone in the use. In fact, all of the recipes we looked at that use the Philosopher Stone do not consume the Philosopher's Stone itself. So if you wanted to make the alchemical coal, the Aeternalis fuel, the interdiction torch, none of these things actually consume the Philosopher's Stone. So no worries there. Now that we have the Transmutation Table, we're going to slap it down. I suppose right there is as good a place as any. I mean, it's kind of a silly location. It looks a little bit funny up there, but let me show you how this works and what makes it such a game changer. So when you right-click on it, there's not really a lot to see. It's sort of just this big empty square with 2 little circles. But the magic comes in when we start adding items into this section here with the fire, which makes it look like it's going to destroy it. But no, what it's actually going to do is learn the item and store the value as EMC, which you'll see down here in the bottom left. So a torch is worth 9 EMC. When we drop that in there, you'll see it says learned, and we can now get a torch out of here using that 9 EMC. So if we took our stack of torches here, valued at 261, dropped them all in there, we could now get back that many torches, or we could just get back 1 torch and leave 256 EMC in there, and you might not see the value of this yet, but let me show you by just grabbing a whole bunch of random objects, hopefully things that all have EMC value. As you see, a cobblestone has an EMC value of 1, and a stack has a value of 64. Well, if we hold down Shift and we just click it, this will do the exact same thing as dragging it up there and putting it in. As you can see, it's learned it, but just hold down Shift and click, and it'll automatically send it in there. And it doesn't look like anything happened, but pay attention to the EMC number down here. As we add more, the EMC value goes up for every item we add. Every single piece of cobblestone is worth 1. Every stack is worth 64. Boom! Just keep adding all of these objects, and you'll notice what happens is that we get more and more EMC. It learns more and more of the different items, and this wheel starts to fill up. And you can actually tab through here like so. But once you add so many items, that's kind of inconvenient. But this is where this thing gets better than the old transmutation tables back in the days of Tekkit Classic. It actually has a search bar, So you have your EMC stored in here, and this is per player. So if you have 2 different players and someone else comes up to your transmutation table, they can't just steal your EMC. If they click on it and they have no EMC, it'll show none. If you go to a friend's house on a server and you use their transmutation table, you'll basically see your transmutation table. It'll have your EMC and your items, which can be helpful because it prevents theft, but also not so helpful if you're trying to play with a friend and you need to make sure that, if they don't have Elder Prismarine, you got to get it out and give it to them. But the point I'm getting at here is we just condensed all the contents of this chest, and we now have 8,542 EMC, which is enough for a diamond. So we got to teach this thing diamonds, and you can actually teach it items without disposing of the items if you set it over here on the right side. So it's now learned diamonds, and it can make diamonds without having consumed the diamond. And we can now convert all of that stone, all of that dirt, all of that obsidian that we had in there earlier into another diamond. Or we could put both the diamonds in there, and now we have 16,000 EMC. And you can start to see how this is one of the most useful objects in the entire mod pack. Because it's not just about converting items from one thing to another. Yes, if you had a stack of stone, and you wanted a stack of marble for your floor, put the stone in, take the marble out. Nice and easy. But more than that, it's a storage device. This will help you minimize the amount of space you need to store objects. I just got rid of that chest because I don't need it anymore. I don't need that storage chest. I can just store all of those items in the form of raw EMC and extract them when I need them. And in fact, I can do that with almost everything inside of this chest as well. Now, you cannot store raw ores. You need to either turn them into ingots or, a better idea, go ahead and macerate them so you get 2, you double your output, and then you don't even have to smelt them. A smelted iron has the same EMC value as an iron dust, but there's no reason to go through the effort of actually smelting the iron, because what you can do is you can come over here and just put the iron ore in there. In fact, we're going to put all of these things that have a value. You'll notice some things don't, so I kind of just grabbed a whole grab bag of objects, knowing full well that some of them would not work, but we'll add those back in there. And I'm going to transfer the rest of this. I just grabbed everything out again for some reason. I'm going to put everything in there that can be condensed. And then whatever cannot be, I'll put back inside of this chest there. That's fine. Wait, crushed aluminum absolutely can be condensed. There we go. And then what we can do is, if we need iron ingots, we don't actually have to smelt them. We can macerate them to get double the amount of dust, and then we can come over here, and as long as we put a single iron ingot in there before, we can get more of them. Quite easily. We get a lot of them if we wanted to. And there's more! Remember previously I told you I had no bones about making the diamond pickaxe because we could just get the value of the diamond pickaxe back. We just toss that in there. And I can get a new one if I need to, and toss it in there, get a new one, toss it in there, get a new one, and toss it in there. And, conveniently, because we have our repair talisman, if we use that diamond pickaxe, it'll repair itself over time. Now, as a tool degrades, it'll lose some of its value, but as long as you have your repair talisman, it'll regain its value, and you can just toss it back in there for the same price you paid for it. What else in here has a value? Ruby shovel, ruby pickaxe, all of these old vanilla weapons, or sorry, tools I should say. All of these things can just go in here and I can fetch new ones as need be, including water, with like a bucket with water in it. And then also, if you want, we're going to get rid of that water, so we have an empty bucket. And then when we throw the empty bucket in there, we'll have that recipe too. And now if we type in bucket, we can get either water bucket or regular bucket. I can go fill the bucket with lava and throw it in there. We can get a lava bucket out if we need to. This changes the entire game. As much of this as I can is going in there now. There's just no reason to hold on to a lot of this stuff if we can condense it and then come back and fetch it again later. Now, not everything has an EMC value. There is a way to manually add values to things if you would like. I typically don't bother. I generally use the sort of rule of thumb that if the mod pack creator didn't figure it needed a value, I don't either. But that's what's left. And in fact, if you remember all of the storage we had before, now fits in this one alchemical chest. Let me go ahead and let's not make a liar out of myself here. Let me verify. Yeah, let me move everything else that we had. And all of these disparate chests, they all now fit in less space. Less than half the space of the alchemical chests. Oh, something else that I wanted to save for this episode was I just wanted to point out that if you macerate the nether iron or the nether silver or any other nether ores, when you macerate them, you don't just get one thing back, you get 4. So it quadruples the value. So you definitely want to be macerating your Nether Ores if you're brave enough to collect them with the risk of the pigmen attacking you. Oh, and also sometimes they blow up. That's important to remember. I don't think I mentioned that in the previous episode, but that was the Philosopher's Stone and the Transmutation Table. And with those 2 items alone, you're basically set to go. You've got everything you need to really begin using ProjectE and progressing the pack. You can see now it'd be so much easier to make solar panels, because when you look at what goes into a solar panel, glass you can just pull out an infinite number of. Unfortunately, the coal dust, you have to get just the coal and then macerate that. But look at this, the contents for inside of here, the bronze you can generate, the redstone you can generate iron, and then you have to cook it up into refined iron, but it just expedites the process so much. And you might be wondering, like, okay, but in Tekkit Classic, we did kind of a similar thing with the Energy Condenser. And we're going to build an Energy Condenser real quick. I'm not going to leave you hanging, we're going to talk about that. You can see here, I'm just getting everything out that I need to build the Energy Condenser. And it's just a matter of, like, checking the recipe. It's useful if you have, like, another screen to keep that recipe pulled up on. But now I have everything I need to build the alchemical chest. And unfortunately, not everything in ProjectE has an EMC value, but the alchemical chest does. So I'll never need to make another alchemical chest again for the remainder of this series, which is pretty nice. Also, we have over 1 million EMC now, which is also nice. Now we need 4 diamonds and 4... obsidian. Oh look, this is working today to make the Energy Condenser. How odd. We've had trouble with that crafting table before. But 4 obsidian, 4 diamond, and an alchemical chest will give you the Energy Condenser. And this still has a place. I want to make it very clear that I don't think this product is useless. And in fact, I'm going to demonstrate exactly how it can be useful. But first, let's make sure that we have ourselves another hopper. So I'm going to place that over there so that we can learn the recipe and I can make more if we need to. And I'm going to set this up in sort of a mock automation fashion. Actually do it over here on the side so that this has room to open up. Now, the way that this works is kind of similar but different. If we get something like a ruby, and then we get something like, ooh, I don't know, stone. Let's just say stone. Stone's a good one, okay? If you have a ruby and you put it in there, and then you have, let's say you want to make a bunch of stone. What you do is you put your ruby in there, that's going to be your fuel, and then you tell the machine that you want to make stone by putting the stone up there. It'll then convert the ruby into EMC, which is represented by this blue bar, and you can't actually tell how much is in there, except for the fact that the bar is full. And it'll start converting that EMC into stone. And then once you have the stone you need, you can take it out, and you can either let it keep going, or you can just click here. And that doesn't get rid of the EMC. All of the EMC for the ruby is still stored inside of here. Again, you can't see it. And then let's say, okay, I got my stone. Now I need some redstone. Let me put the redstone in there. And you go, oh, there's actually not enough in there for me to make. Okay, let me get an emerald, and I'll throw the emerald in there, and it'll convert the emerald into EMC. And this is a fine method, and this is how we did things in Tekkit Classic, because it was actually a little bit of a hassle to use the Transmutation Table, because it didn't have the search bar. So once this was full, trying to get the item out of it you wanted was basically impossible. Like, look at it right now. If I want stone, and I don't have these arrows that I can flip through until I find stone, and I don't have a search bar, because I don't believe the arrows were present in Tekkit Classic either. Without those things, your goose is cooked. You're just stuck. You don't have your stone anymore. So what we all did was we had energy condensers, and we kept one of every item, and if we needed something, we came over to the energy condenser, we put that item in there, you know, we put it up there, and we got what we needed, and we did those things one at a time, and it was fine, and it worked. But this is so much better. You can just store everything inside of here and take out what you need as you need it. It's an objectively better system. This isn't about opinion. This is about facts. And I've had people in previous series, Tekkit Legends in particular, kind of bite back at that and say, wait, no, the energy condenser. No, you're not thinking about this clearly. You're remembering the transmutation table as it was, not as it is. And as it is now with the search bar and the arrows, it's objectively better in all ways except for automation. Because you can still use the energy condenser to take the products from, let's say, a quarry, which we're going to be building one of those soon. You can have the quarry automatically pipe condensable items into here and have them turn into diamonds. So what you would do is you would take a diamond and you say, hey, turn everything from the quarry into a diamond. And then the quarry produces a lot of things like stone, and it produces a lot of things like coal, and it produces a lot of things like occasionally you might get some redstone. And as the quarry pipes those items in, this is basically what it'll do. The quarry will drop the condensable items in here, and it'll slowly convert them into diamonds. So instead of having this huge mess of objects coming out of the quarry, you can just go to your diamond box, basically, collect the diamonds that were generated from the quarry, come back to your house, open up your transmutation table, put the diamonds in there, and now you have that usable, tangible EMC ready to go. Now that the demonstration is done, I'm dismantling this because I don't actually need it right now. Also, I don't have the patience to wait for that, so let's just make as much coal as we can. There we go. I don't want to waste any EMC inside of this thing. So all you gotta do to dismiss the current object is just left-click on it, and then right-click another item up there, and it doesn't actually hold on to the item, but that's going to convert what's remaining of the EMC in here into marble. There we go. Clear that. Take both of those out. That is now completely empty, and I can disassemble it if I need to. It does have an EMC value, which is handy because I can just toss it in there. And I don't know why exactly the textures are broken. I'm going to look into that, but it's bothering me. They're obviously not broken when you place them, but that is the Energy Condenser. Still a very useful, very powerful tool, just not in the same ways it used to be. I'm telling you folks, if you've not tried the Transmutation Table, it'll change your life. The next item we want to build is the Alchemical Bag, and upon reflection, I've decided to actually wait to build this one until the episode where we move houses. As you can see from the recipe here, it's not that complicated. It's high covalence dust, wool, alchemical chest. The only reason I'm not building it now is because in the episode where we move, we're going to have a couple of different things we used to move, and I feel like it'd just be better to save it for that episode, so I can introduce it as the tool we're going to use, which means we're going to move on instead, and we're going to sequence break a little bit here to build the Klein Star. Actually, no, we'll do the Destruction Catalyst first. In order to build the Destruction Catalyst, you need some Mobius Fuel, you need some Nova Catalyst, and you need a Flint and Steel. So I'm going to say Flint and Steel, Mobius Fuel, and the Nova Catalyst over here, although don't be frightened, that's just TNT and Mobius Fuel, and then TNT is just sand and gunpowder. You've built that before, presumably. Look, there's gunpowder right there. There's some sand. Come down here. Just make a bunch of TNT. It doesn't matter because it's got an EMC value. Just throw it in there and we will never manufacture TNT again. We don't have to. Now we're going to grab a stack of coal, and I'm going to use that coal along with my Philosopher's Stone inside of a crafting table to create alchemical coal. And because I know I'll need more of that in the future, I'm going to teach it to the system here by just dropping it in there. You can also drop it into the middle, and it'll show you, for example, if it's not up there already, like you see how TNT isn't up there, and you don't want to type in TNT if you happen to already have some in your inventory, plop it in the middle there, it'll show you TNT, usually at the top here. Grab out the stack or whatever you need, take the one with you. A handy little tip there for you. I'm going to grab a bit more of this. We're not going to go crazy, but we're going to get about 24 of them. Not that that's how much we need, that's just how much I decided to grab. Because I think we need, in order to build this, 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh, we need 8. Well, that's okay, because you know what? We could just make the 6 of them, and then we could blop those in there, and then we can grab 2 more, and now we have the 8 that we need. So now we can combine TNT with Mobius Fuel to get Nova Catalysts. Oh! That gives you 2 each. So actually, no. I was right to have only made 4. Darn it! I did the thing correctly! And then I messed it up. But there we go. A Flint and Steel. We'll get rid of the other 2 of these and the other 2 of those. And now we should be able to build the Destruction Catalyst with 4 Nova Catalysts, which is just a big explosion. Mobius Fuel, which can be used as mentioned earlier, inside of the generator or anything else that consumes fuel. The Destruction Catalyst. This is cool. It's also very dangerous, and it requires fuel. So what you'll typically end up using is something like glowstone or coal or redstone. I'm going to grab a stack of coal here so you can kind of see how this works. And we're going to head underground where it's safe to use this thing. Now, I do want to caution you. Oh, also in the half episode, we dug the hole down all the way to bedrock, and we started doing more mining down here, which has not been super helpful. I mean, we got a few diamonds out of it. But where this comes in handy is as a mining tool. Because what you can do is with it charged all the way down, and with some form of fuel in your inventory, in this case we're using coal, face in the direction you want to mine and right-click. This will automatically mine out, and you see it's already consumed a coal. This will mine out a 3x3 by 1 depth hole. And if you continue right-clicking, it'll dig out a tunnel. And conveniently, we found coal to power it as we go. We can actually go further with this if we press V. This will mine out a slightly larger space. If we right-click, think it does, I want to say 8 blocks, but let me check about that. If I'm standing right here, it does 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I was wrong. Again? Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Hold on now. Hold on just a second. Oh, that actually worked. That's not what I meant to do, but I didn't know that would work. Okay, so I've gone ahead and looked it up to make sure that I'm not misspeaking here. All the way at its lower setting, it goes by a depth of 1. Then when you bring it up, it goes a depth of 4. Then a depth of 9. And then finally, a depth of 16 blocks. Which means that if we go over here and we right-click right in this spot, it'll dig a 3x3 tunnel 16 blocks forward. And it should break just about everything. And that means that this pairs up really nicely with something else that we've built in the past that I'd like to go fetch if I can remember how to get back home. Woof! Well, that was a boring affair. What I was going to say is it pairs up really nicely with the divining rod. Because you can set the divining rod to also go in a 16 mode. Oh, that was a really poor way of phrasing that, wasn't it? You can set it to search up to 16 blocks away, and then you can use the destruction catalyst to automatically clear out everything in that full 16 blocks. Now, you want to be very careful with this, because it is very indiscriminate. If you walk up to your own front door with this in your hand, and you try to open that front door and accidentally right-click, maybe the door opens, or maybe it digs a 3x3x16 hole into your base, destroying your machines, your automations, your equipment, your chests full of objects. I don't advise you keep this in your hotbar unless you're actively using it. And also, be kind. Don't troll your friends. Because you could. You could ruin their day. You could ruin their house. Don't be that guy. And also be on the lookout of other people being that guy. Because that guy's a menace. Now, as I mentioned before, you do have to use fuel with the destruction catalyst, and it'll show you how much EMC is stored in it. You can see right now it's got 48 EMC, but that's not even enough to be used once. In order to use it once, you need 144 EMC, and if you have a look at coal, coal is worth 128. So it actually requires a little bit more than a single piece of coal to use at its lowest setting. At its second setting, digging 4 blocks in depth, you need 576 EMC. At its second highest setting, 9 blocks requires 1,296 EMC, and then finally to go the full 16 blocks requires 2,304 EMC. So you don't want to be using this willy-nilly. You probably also don't want to keep a stack of coal around with you. I know I certainly wouldn't, and that is where the Klein Star comes in. The Klein Star is like a battery for EMC. You can load it up with EMC and keep it in your inventory, and anything that uses EMC, be it your destruction catalyst or even Swiftwolf's Rending Gale, will automatically draw EMC from the Klein Star, which you can then recharge inside of the Transmutation Table. Now, all of the various Klein Stars, and there are many different kinds, have funny little names, and I know how to pronounce them all perfectly. This is the Klein Star Ein, Zwei, Drei, Yore, Sphere, oh my god. That's how you say all of them, and that is all 100% accurate. And if you ever find someone saying that I've pronounced them wrong, those people are actually wrong themselves, and evil, and should be cast out of your life for the betterment of mankind. Let's build a Klein Star, though. It's going to require a diamond, as well as some Mobius fuel. Well, there's our Mobius fuel right there, so we'll grab the 8 of those, as well as the diamond, and we'll create the Klein Star, which has an EMC value, so we can make more of them if we wanted to. Now, to fill the Klein Star up with fuel, what you need to do is simply left-click it anywhere in this circle over here, and it'll automatically charge up by removing EMC from your stored EMC. It's now ready to go. It will power the destruction catalyst, but we could take it a step further if we wanted to make a bigger one, because this one's going to drain pretty quick. See, the Ein Klein Star only holds 50,000 EMC, but the Zwei, which can be made using 4 of these, and they don't stack, by the way, but with the 4 of them together, you can store, and I know this is going to be surprising, 200,000. It scales linearly. Zwei! Looky there. Now, it's also worth a lot more in and of itself. It's almost 100,000 EMC, but it'll hold a ton. Now, from there, you can do the math yourself, or you can just look this up and determine that the Drei holds 800,000 EMC. The Vier holds 3,200,000. The Sphere holds 12,800,000. I'm looking at the list on the other screen, and I'm still reading them out wrong. 800,000, 3,200,000, 12,800,000, and then finally 51,200,000, which is nuts. Very big numbers. But for the sake of demonstration, which I believe in, we have our divining rod and we have it set in our by 16 mode. So let's say we go down here and we go, all right, let's see what we find over here. And we see that 256 is not very high. 4,000, well, something in a 3x3x16 range dead ahead is worth 4,000 EMC. It's probably gold. There's a couple other things it could be. Well, let's charge this all the way up to max, so it'll dig out that entire 3x3x16 space. Right click, and whatever it was should now be in our inventory or right on the edges. If we walk inside here, we have a little look around. Huh. Oh, it is in our inventory. It was in our inventory the whole time. It was the uranium. I got confused. So it worked, as you can see. We can do that again. Something over there is worth 512. Is it even really worth our time? Ooh, 4,000 again, huh? Right click, and it looks like it was more uranium. Now it's getting very dark and spooky down here because I forgot to bring torches. And unfortunately, nothing we've built today is actually going to help us defend ourselves against the dark and scary monsters in the abyss. But there's one object that can kind of do that. That's not the main reason to build it. The main reason to build it is much cooler. And I think we're going to go ahead and build it. Simply because of the cost of the next item, I was considering not maybe doing that today, but I think it's going to be worth it. And that's Swiftwolf's Rending Gale. And the cost is not in the 4 feathers. It's not in the Iron Band, which requires either lava or a Vulcanite amulet, which itself is pretty cool but very expensive. The cost is in the Dark Matter. 139,264 EMC apiece. You basically need to have a block of diamond. And I say basically, that's exactly what you need. And that needs to be surrounded by Aeternalis fuel. Each one of these is valued the same as a diamond. And we've not even built one of them yet, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to take our Mobius fuel. You'll need 4 of them, as well as the Philosopher Stone, to create an Aeternalis fuel. We're going to toss that in there, and then we'll get 7 more of them, combine it with our original, and then we need our 9 diamonds. Goodness me. And then, you know what, just for the sake of doing it, I'm going to take that diamond block, toss that in there, so it's been learned, so I can make more diamond blocks if I need to in the future. Surround that, get our dark matter, plop that in there, get 3 more. We are down to 161,000 EMC. This is 557,056 EMC we're holding our inventory right now. Now we need feathers, which are, fortunately, very cheap. 48 apiece. Goodness gracious. And then the iron surrounding lava. Well, I did say I wanted to get a lava bucket inside of here, so let's just go ahead and grab an empty bucket as well as our iron. There we are. And it's just a matter of running down the stairs here. And we do have a landing here, which is a little bit lower than where the old landing was, but it gets us down here where we need to be. And I've got to now try to remember not to immediately just use the bucket in the recipe. We want to condense the bucket so we can get more. I've got to continue telling myself that so that I don't make a giant error. Condense it, Rees. Do it, do it, do it. There we go. We've guaranteed that we now can get lava buckets anytime we need to. And there is our iron band. This recipe is something we'll build a lot because there's a lot of other rings that we can make using iron bands. Today, though, we're only focused on the one. It didn't consume the bucket. That's handy. And I guess that makes sense because I don't believe it would consume the Vulcanite amulet as well. The Vulcanite amulet is cool because it can be used in place of lava in any recipe that requires lava. It can also just, like, place lava. It's really cool. As you see right there, acts as infinitely full lava bucket. I mean, folks. Wait a minute. Can I use that to fill this? Hadn't considered that. Maybe so. It does consume EMC, so it will consume EMC from the Klein Star in our inventory. But what we actually want to do here, and I'm curious about the state of the shape of the crafting. Oh, okay. No, this one is requiring that we do it properly. So, dark matter on the corners, feathers on the sides, iron band in the middle, Swiftwolf's Rending Gale. This is the real one here, folks. As long as this is in your hotbar, and it might work in here as well, but as long as it's in your hotbar, and you have EMC either in the form of, let's say, coal, glowstone, redstone, or ideally a Klein Star in your inventory. As long as you have EMC, you can double-click the jump button to fly. Just like you were in creative. Folks, I can show you the world. Shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, dolphin, now when did you last let your heart decide? I'm not scared of sharks anymore because I just fly away from them. How wonderful is this? I am curious. Now you'll notice it changes colors when it's in use, and if you double click, it'll turn itself back off. Let's see if it works over here. Oh, it does! So you don't actually even have to have it in your hotbar. You can keep it in your bauble slot, along with something like the repair talisman. And you can have a couple of rings in here. That's so handy! Now, one thing you might be wondering about is fall damage. And folks, I gotta tell you, it's not something you need to worry about anymore, because as long as you have the ring on you, you'll no longer sustain fall damage. Now, I did mention that it could be used to help protect us from monsters at one point, and even to combat them. And the way that works is quite interesting. I wish I had some mobs around here to demonstrate with. For one, you can actually attack mobs by looking at them while holding the ring and pressing Y. Although, yeah, no, it does look like you actually have to have it selected, so I don't think that this is going to work when it is inside of your hotbar, nor is it particularly effective against squids. I need something on land that I can demonstrate this with. I wish there was a creeper or something nearby. Uh-oh. I know that it can also be used to create thunderstorms if it's already raining. You can look up into the sky and convert that to a thunderstorm, but that's not super helpful right now, I don't think. And you can repel hostile mobs by simply right-clicking it. So with that on right now, these sharks cannot get close to me. As you can see, they are being repelled away from me. Ha 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 ha! And are you hostile? See, as long as these things aren't hostile, they're fine. But I think if I go over here and poke them a little bit, get them hostile at me, they should... I mean, he just went zooming. Goodness me, I did not expect that. Yeah, see, he's hostile now, so he's going to continuously be repelled. Actually, they're both being repelled. Look at this! And then, like I said before, we can hit Y. Well, that didn't quite work. Let me try again. Oh, you know... Oh, what's happening is that this works the same way as the interdiction torch that I talked about before, which means that it also repels projectiles. So if a skeleton shot at me, it would repel that, and it's also repelling my attacks. So if I turn that off, and then I hit Y, it'll launch the projectile straight ahead, which just sends them flying. Look at that, how wonderful. And I don't think there's any limitations on how this works. I'm pretty sure you can use this against any mob. Ooh, it did not send him flying, though. He did not get sent flying. He might be too big for this. That's unfortunate. He's really mad at me. I'm going to turn back on my force field and keep him away. Now, it should be noted that if you have the force field on, it is going to drain EMC over time. You can actually look at the ring, and it'll show you how much stored EMC it has, and you can see how quickly it is going through it right now. Keep in mind that 1 EMC is the value of 1 stone, so every time you see it tick down by 1, that's a stone, a marble, any kind of object that I could generate disappearing from my stored EMC. You can actually watch it happen here in a second. Once it drops down, there it goes. So keep that in mind. You definitely don't want to be goofing off with this one. I think it'll continue to work even when... Oh, sweet heavens. Hold on there. Oh, geez, that launched him somehow. I was going to say, it should continue to work even if it's over here. Yes, it continues to repel them. But that makes it harder to toggle it on and off, because I think you have to right-click to toggle it. So, a useful thing to have, particularly if you're dealing with a bunch of mobs. But, I mean, the main reason I use it is for flying. Now, there's something else you can do. You can build a pedestal, and you can put the ring on the pedestal, and that'll unlock even more unique abilities. In fact, if you look at it right now in your inventory, it'll tell you that when it's on a pedestal, it'll shoot lightning at nearby mobs every 3.5 seconds, which is pretty stinking cool. I like Swiftwolf's Rending Gale, and it's gonna be making moving everything from the house, like tearing it all down and then relocating it, a whole lot easier. Which is what we're going to do in the next episode. When we come back, we're going to be relocating to our new home across the sea there, that was scouted out in a previous partial episode, right here on this little mountain. At least, I think that's where we're putting it. Now that we have the ability to fly, we can explore the world much more thoroughly and verify that that is in fact the exact place we want our base. But I think it's the exact place we want our base. Unless I find something cooler in the next half episode where I'm going to go scouting. Until then, thank you folks for watching. God bless each and every single one of you. I'll see you later. Bye!